Hi everyone, welcome back to FPL Moneyball, where we use data analysis to find the best players for your fantasy football teams. Today we'll be doing a Game Week 10 team selection video where I'll be sharing my thoughts on the game week and why I selected Mbeumo and Mateta into my team. So let's jump right into the data analysis, taking a look at the forwards first. For me, there are two standout options here, Erling Haaland and Mateta, and both of these players have home fixtures this game week, so I do think that they have a chance to continue their goal scoring form. And so far, their expected goals involvements are the top among the forwards. Haaland with 1.1 expected GI per 90, and Mateta at 0.98 after that thrilling 3-3 draw against Bournemouth, where he did have a lot of chances to score and bag the hat trick that game week. I do think that these two are the standout options and receive the best chances as they play for very good sides as well. Manchester City and Crystal Palace all being very good in terms of the attacking threat going forward, and good managers and very attacking playing style as well. So they will continue to receive big chances, and I will continue to back them to score for me. And that's why I brought in Mateta this game week, because I do feel that he does have a favorable run of fixtures and he will receive a big opportunity to score. So the next few options, the third forward option is much more up for grabs, and there are a few other options I will consider there. A few of them being Thiago from Brentford, Isidore from Sunderland, Welbeck as well as Voltemade. And Welbeck and Voltemade actually have less games played, as Welbeck came back from injury, and Voltemade was also a new signing for Newcastle this season. So their stats aren't as good as the other forwards in terms of the points so far this season, but they do have relatively decent expected goal involvement of 0.61 for both of them actually. The other two players, Thiago plays for Brentford, and he's been kind of a dark horse he only cost 6 million, and he has scored actually the second most points among the forwards in total, just behind Haaland, although there's a big gap of 40 points. He's the next best forward in terms of points scored so far this season. So he's also pretty clinical with a relatively high expected goal involvement, and he does play for a decent Brentford team as well. And lastly, Isidore from Sunderland, the newly promoted side, also very strong start to the season from them, and Isidore, who has already 37 points this season, and he also came in at only 5.5 million, so a very budget forward option, and he does get good, decent value with a points per million of 6.61, which is on the higher side for the forwards. The next few options I would say are less attractive. Krupi, Richarlison, João Pedro, as well as Jarrod Bowen. Both Bowen and Pedro have very little expected goal involvement this season. So they did score some points, but these were like from attempts that were very far off, and they had very little chances to score. So their XG stats don't look very good, and they are not on the receiving end of a lot of goal scoring opportunities. So their attacking threat and potential may be limited going forward. Richarlison also faces rotation issues, as he's being rotated with the other forwards from Spurs. And Krupi, so far he has been very impressive, given his limited minutes and starts this season. Coming in for the injured Ivan Nilsson, he has returned in the past few game weeks. So I think that right now it's still a bit early for me to transfer him in, and he does face a risk of rotation once Ivan Nilsson comes back from injury. So I'll still keep him on the watch list for now. And the last two forward options are the least attractive in my opinion. Ekitike from Liverpool, who was actually quite good in terms of his form and goal scoring track record this season, but with the signing of Isak, he also faces that rotation risk, and he doesn't get as many chances as you would like him to have. And lastly, Gyökeres has been pretty disappointing, and I did transfer him out after he continues to blank despite receiving good amounts of goal scoring opportunities. He has failed to convert them, so I'm not sure if it's because of a lack of confidence or form or whatever, but he hasn't been providing the output, and so I decided to transfer him out this game week. So moving on to the midfielders, there's one midfield option that stands out, and there's Mbueumo from Bournemouth. Although he does face a challenge against Man City away from home this game week, he has been the standout performer among the forwards with the highest total points of 73, highest points per million at 9, and also a pretty decent expected goal involvement of 0.47. The next few options for me will be Mbueumo, Enzo, Sa, Njai, and Kudus. For me, these are the forwards that do show a good track record of goal scoring opportunities going forward, and also provide decent value. So for me, I brought in actually Mbueumo this game week because I was very impressed with his performance last game week, getting a goal and assist. So I think that he will continue to get the goal scoring opportunities and he's the talisman for Manchester United at the moment, although Bruno is still on penalties. And the other midfield options remain consistent with what I've previously mentioned in my last few videos. I do like Enzo, Sa, and Njai. Kudu slightly less attractive as his goal involvements are less, and he does face a bit of a rotation risk for me as well. So the next few options I would say are the third tier for me, and these are the Declan Rice, Anthony, and Caicedo. And these midfielders, although they have got quite a few points this season, and they are relatively cheap compared to the other midfield options, in terms of their goal involvement, they aren't very high, and they have been able to convert from very long range, far shots, and I don't think it's very hard for them to keep up this form going forward. So lastly will be Bruno Fernandes and Cody Gakpo, and these players are the least attractive in my opinion. Although they do have decent goal involvement, they have failed to score many points. Bruno missing penalties and Gakpo hitting the post several times already this season. So ones to watch for me at the moment, but not very attractive in my opinion. So next, looking at the defenders, there are three defenders that you need to have in your teams. I would recommend a double up on Arsenal defense, which have been the best defense in the league this season, with Calafiori and Timber with very high or very strong expected goals conceded at 0.5 for a very solid Arsenal defense. And the third option will be Dan Burn from Newcastle United, who have the second best expected goals record for the teams in the Premier League this season at 0.8. Next will be a few other options to consider, which you could play around with these few options. The highest in terms of PPM would be Van der Ven from Spurs, who actually scored a brace last game week, a clean sheet and 3 bonus points for a massive 23 point haul last game week. So he jumps to the top of the leaderboard. But there are also other similar defenders with similar price ranges as well as expected goal conceded around this bucket, and there will be Mukele and Roden from newly promoted sides Sunderland and Leeds respectively, as well as Gehi, who plays for a very strong Crystal Palace defense and has already had a few assists and goals already this season, and Senesi, who stands out as the defensive contribution leader in terms of the number of points he has scored from DEFCON so far this season. The next few defenders are less attractive in my opinion. Chalobah, whose form has been deproving actually over the season. Although Chelsea had a strong start to the season, they have struggled recently with a few disciplinary issues, red cards from players, and this has affected both their attack and their defense. Lastly will be Ruben from Manchester City, who also didn't really have who on the other hand didn't have the best start of the season, but with the signing of Donnarumma recently, has City's defense looks much more solid at the back. So these are the Van Dijk and Tarkowski are further shots options that traditionally have very strong defense but haven't been looking as good this season. So lastly, the goalkeepers, top picks will be Nick Pope from Newcastle and Royce from Sunderland. Royce providing the best value, and Pope with the actually second highest points per game week, points per million. Similarly, other options will be Raya from Arsenal, Petrovic from Bournemouth, and Vicario from Spurs, who have all a decent clean sheet and low expected goal conceded per 90 stats. Lastly will be Jordan Pickford, who I'll recommend staying away from the moment due to the Everton's defense conceding quite a few big chances already this season. So this is how my team lines up for the game week 10. I do have Vicario I do have Vicario in my goalkeeper position, facing Chelsea at home. Double up on the Arsenal defense, very strong fixture for them against Burnley away. Dan Burn also playing West Ham United away, who have struggled from goals and have changed their manager recently. In midfielder, I do have five options here. Enzo, who faces Tottenham, who has been a bit shaky at the back recently. Semenyo, who faces a very strong Manchester City team. Sa, who does have a home fixture against Brentford. Grealish, who returns after he missed out against Manchester City 2 game weeks ago, and Mbueumo, who faces Nottingham Forest away, also a very good fixture for Man United. And lastly, in the forward options, I'm captaining Haaland, facing Bournemouth at home, and Mateta, also another home fixture against Brentford. So on my bench, I do have 2 Chelsea players, João Pedro and Chalobah. João Pedro, I'm benching him because his form hasn't been great recently, and Chalobah, I don't think Chelsea's defense has looked very good either. And lastly will be Senesi, who faces a very strong opposition in Manchester City and Erling Haaland. So I do have these players ready to come on for me if needed, and I'll be looking to play my bench boost in the next game week 11, where Chelsea do face Wolves at home, so very favorable fixtures for my team all around. So lastly, taking a look at the game week 10 watch list, here are some players to look out for in the game week 10. Firstly, Danny Welbeck, who was also on my watch list last season. His PPM actually rose from about 4.9 to 5.8 now, so he had a very strong game. And he also has very decent expected goal involvement stats at around 0.6, which is the highest side among the forwards. He does face a relatively easy opposition, such as Leeds United home in game week 10, Forest in game week 13, and a few other home fixtures against Brentford and Aston Villa over the next 5 game weeks. Next will be Eze from Arsenal, who after Eze has been struggling actually since his signing from Crystal Palace, but he's been looking better and improving over the last few game weeks. My concern is that the Arsenal attack is rather spread out in terms they do have a lot of options, both on the wings as well as the midfield and the forward position. So they do have a very quite a decent squad depth actually. So they have players like Martinelli who are able to come in to rotate for them, and Saka also coming back from injury. So Eze's minutes could be kept sort of limited, but he's on set pieces as well, and he does have some improvements in his form recently. So he has an expected goal involvement of around 0.39, which is slightly lower than the other midfielders, but this is dragged down by his performance at the start of the season and has been improving recently. So he also has a decent points per million of around 4.75 and faces easy opposition against Burnley this game week, followed by a couple of not too difficult fixtures against Sunderland, Tottenham, Chelsea, as well as Brentford. So lastly would be Krupi Jr. from Bournemouth, who is playing for the injured Ivan Nilsson. He did have his minutes limited at the start of the season, as Ivan Nilsson was the starter for Bournemouth, but since the injury, he has been given more minutes to play, and he has actually scored in the recent 3 starts that he has. So although the data for him is pretty limited at the moment, it looks pretty impressive from a analysis standpoint, and he does have a very high expected goal involvement of 0.9, which is the 3rd highest among the forwards, only behind Mateta and Haaland, and also a high points per million of 5.87, given that he only costs about $4.6 million, which is very cheap for the forwards. So he does face easy opposition against West Ham and a few other decent fixtures over the next few game weeks. So that's it for my Game Week 10 team selection video. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it interesting and engaging. So please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for my Game Week 10 review later this game week. See you next time.